I kind of picked this up this year, and it's really helped out a lot. I always fish a windward bank. I avoid calm water at all costs. The bass like it for two reasons, okay? They feel comfortable under it. And I'm not talking like really choppy or wavy or anything like that. I'm talking a little bit, okay? Just enough to like break up the pattern of the bottom. All right, the bass are going to feel comfortable under it because of predators that are from above. You know, a 30-inch bass doesn't know really how big he is because, you know, they came, you know, when they're younger, an osprey could come down and swoop up and get them. Okay, a lot of them bear scars from it, you know, back when they were younger. Another thing is too, you have light refraction. Okay, where what's going to happen is that the light comes down, and if the water's generally calm, it just goes right through at one angle. Okay, if it's choppy, the light goes in every different direction that little chop is. So now their pattern, it's camouflage. Now you can fish those potholes with more active fish than you can in that calm water. Okay, but here's where the kicker comes in. All right, if you're on a flat and it's a gigantic area and there's going to be fish maybe on 5% of it. Okay, so I'm fishing quickly, but there's a shortcut to it. Okay, if you've got and you'll see this out there too, and they'll run for half a mile. What you'll have on one side of the water, you'll have a little bit of a chop. Okay, and on the right side, you'll have slick water, and a straight line going all the way down. What the bass will do in this open water, as shallow as you can go, okay, is they'll hang under that chop, and they're going to look into the calm water. They'll be about a foot to the left of the calm water in the chop, and their sight of vision is going to take them about maybe 2 or 3 feet to the outside in that calmer water. If you go and you cast into the choppy water along that line, you're not going to get anything. If you cast 4 feet out to the right of that chop, you're not going to get anything. Okay? If you cast 2 feet outside that chop in that calm water, in a perfect line with that, and you bring it straight down, you're going to get destroyed. What happens, and they're spread out, what happens is you're going to make a long cast as far as you can go, okay? And you're going to bring it back, and he's going to wallop it like immediately. And it's going to be a big fish. It's going to be like a 12-pound fish, okay, in less than a foot of water. And you're going to catch him and bring him in, and you're going to go right to where you caught him and make another cast. Okay, and about a cast length behind that's going to be another one. Okay, and these lines go forever. You know, and you can pick apart. Now you see all kinds of lines everywhere. You know, and you can go to each individual line on that sound and hit it and hit it and hit it and hit it. Now the difficulty comes in making a cast that accurate, because when you're fishing high tide, accuracy is everything. You can screw up a spot with one bad cast. There can be 10 bass in one little cove, and you screw it up immediately. You know, one misplaced cast, just short of where they are or on top of them, you're done. Okay. So what you need to do is in a high tide scenario, you need to cast it all the way to the bank within inches off of it, and it's really hard to do because you've got many factors. You have a wind, how hard you're casting the rod, you know, the weight of your lure. There's the wind's different up there than it is down here. It can be blowing a slightly different direction, or even harder or lesser. So you can never tell. You have to calibrate. What I'm doing is I'm always casting, because I'm staying my distance. I fish very, very far away from my fish, okay? Because I'm usually counting on a bunch of them being there. Okay, I'll catch one, and I'll stake the boat out, put the push pole in, tie off to the pulling platform, and individually work those fish. So what I'm doing is I'm casting very hard. A mistake that I see is a drawback. What people will do, like this, and then they'll cast. The reason it's bad, okay, it offers no accuracy whatsoever. Okay, when you're back here like that, the lure is swinging in either direction. So you won't be able to tell which way it's going to be going now. Okay, it could be coming off at an angle, and all of a sudden it goes that way, or it goes that way. Okay, what you have to do, it's a 2 motion. You're loading the rod backwards, and you're loading it forwards. You're coming back very quickly, very fast. The rod's bending backward, bending forward, okay? You come back, and you go all the way behind you, and as hard as you can. Okay, so you're loading it backwards and forwards. What that's going to do is that's going to make the lure over your head go in a straight line backwards and a straight line forward. Okay, so now you're perfectly straight, but that's not enough. Okay, because it's going to fly, you know, over my target because I just cast really hard. Okay, so what I'm going to do is as the lure is sailing through the air, okay, I'm going to take my left hand out and I'm feathering the line. What I'm doing is I'm slowing the line down with my hand to the point to where when it's going to land completely silent, okay? Because the worst thing you can do is when you're casting in the area is have your lure splash down, okay? So I can get on target and have it land exactly where I want it to land, and it's going to be absolutely silent. The way you actually cast, and it's kind of funny, after a while, you can do this blindfolded because what's going to happen is you're going to feel the line and you're going to hear the line as well. After doing this for a long time, you don't need to see anymore because your brain can gauge from the line going through your hand and the sound of the line coming off the reel, and you can put something blindfolded like an inch of the bank. If you get in the habit of this, the same thing will happen. It's just going to be a natural thing to where it's going to be effortless. You can look the other way and boom, it lands right where you want to land, okay? What that does when you're feathering your line is that there's always a crosswind. So when you're on that flat and you see that wind line and you want to be directly with it, as you're feathering that line, if you just let it rip and go right out, now you have a big bow in your line because the wind's probably blowing your line as your lure is going forward. And if you do get a strike the second your lure starts moving, you have all that slack out there. Okay, so feathering your line is perfectly straight. Now, if I'm fishing a point, a current point or something like that, what I can do now, since I have that much dexterity with my line now, I can go ahead, cast over the point, let the wind carry my line just a little bit as I feather down, and now I've wrapped the plug around the point, and I'm going to get hit before I even see my plug again. Okay, so I can cast it over the point, let the line blow it slightly, feather my line till it's about 2 feet to the outside, not 3 feet, not 4 feet, because you're not going to get a strike. Okay, about 2 feet to the outside, and I'm working in the second, maybe the second I see it, wallop, he's on it. You know, so that's how you get your dexterity out there. It's extremely important. Okay, loud splashes in the middle of a cove, something like that, no good. All right, when I'm in my summer fishery, what you're going to find in a lot of these areas, I'm losing my voice, and I did a talk yesterday, and I was at an outdoor show. In the summer, if you're not on a flat and it's high tide, okay, maybe like 10 o'clock in the morning, something like that, you're going to have fish that are in singles. And this is worth hitting because they're usually pretty large. Because the bigger fish, and that's why those bigger fish are on those flats. They're not going to hang with the small guys, you know. So if you're fishing a high tide area like a cove, and coves usually come in threes. It'll be like a step, and a step. There'll be maybe 4 points on one side. Say it's like a windward side of the sound, all right? And a lot of times those bass will be dead center right in the back of those coves. What you want to look for along a bank is when it goes from like a high grass to like a bare sod or maybe like a green grass, like a short green or this little like short plum grass, something like that. Anytime the bank changes, okay, it'll hold fish for like 1 or 2 reasons. It's something different because the bottom is always going to follow the contour of the bank. So if I've got high grass growing on one part of the bank and I've got low grass growing right next to it, the bottom contour is going to be different. It could be muddy and going to sand all of a sudden. You know, there's a reason that happens. Or if I've got from high grass to like a bare bank, like a bare sod bank, what's going to happen below that bare sod bank is there's going to be a hunk of it sitting down there on the bottom in like 1 to 2 foot of water. What the bass will do, he'll just lay right next to it. Okay, so when you're fishing inside the coves in the back of them, those little tiny alcoves, that's what you want to be hitting. Ignore everything in between. Okay, if you've got a big long stretch of grass, go right by it until you find where it changes all of a sudden on the bank. All right. Second thing, and this is absolutely huge, and it causes me to put like 25 miles on the boat a day, in this little tiny area that I'm in, is when the tide goes out, especially for these summer bass, I have one side of the sound will have maybe 2 creeks, okay, small ones, all right, and then the next sound down 5 miles will have 3 or 4 of them, all right. Those creeks right there will produce fish. On the other side of the sound, there could be 10 creeks with nothing in it, okay. What'll happen? Say I'm fishing on the south side of a sound and I've got a north wind blowing into it, okay? So it's an outgoing tide, okay? And the tide's going out of a creek and the wind's going into it, okay? What that's gonna do is that's gonna create a back swell, okay? And it's a wind against tide thing, okay? There's a nice swell coming out of the creek because the wind's trying to force the water back into it and the water's pushing out of it, all right? What those bass will do is they'll get about 3 feet inside of that back swell. If you cast to the mouth of the creek, you just blew the whole thing, okay? If you go about 10 feet back inside the creek, if you feather your line around the curve, everything, you get it inside there without them ever seeing it, okay? And then you bring it out through there. Once you get about 2 feet into that back swell, that's where they are, okay? Now, say I've got 2 of them in one sound. I go and I pull fish out of those. Now the other side of the sound, where the wind's with the current, okay, they're dead. There's nothing in them. If the wind switches while I'm over there, I can run right over there immediately and hit those back swells. And I'm gonna pull fish out of there instantly, okay, because that's what happens. The wind's constantly switching out there too, so my entire day, it's like, wind's blowing that way, go over there, wind's blowing that way, go over there.